Welcome to the 10-Minute Treasurer. My name is Jeff Pospisil, and in this video, I'm going to look at a problem that I've seen a number of churches face where they received a bequest, usually larger in nature, some 10, 20, 30 years ago, and all of a sudden they've used it in a certain way for a number of years, but now there's new challenges, new opportunities, and they wonder what the actual restriction was. And then they go to look around and they don't have a copy of what the actual will said or the letter from the lawyer said. And so now what do you do? So that's the question we're going to look at. What to do with an old bequest but no record of the donor's wishes. Where do you start? Where do you go? So this is not merely an academic exercise for me. We actually have some experience with this. About 100 years ago, we had a gentleman named Frank Lynch, and he was active in the denomination, and he owned a John Deere dealership. I think it was in Castleton, and him and his wife, they were active. And later on, he got into the lumber industry. And anyway, he left most of his accumulated wealth to the denomination, and left. That was 90 years ago when he passed away. And so after all that time, we were wondering what are the ways that this money is actually restricted as time went on. And so here's what we ended up doing. We ended up getting our lawyers involved, and they were able to locate the original will. I don't know exactly how they did that, but they got a copy of the original will. And that is the most important thing, because that tells what the actual donor intent was. And we ended up having to get some kind of legal opinion from our lawyers too, because I want to say that the will said that the money was to be used for worn out preachers. So that was 90 years ago. And what does that mean in the 21st century? Well, for us, we thought the best way we can honor the Lynches and also do great work for the denomination is to put this towards retiree health. So anyway, we wanted to stay in that realm of how do we help pastors in retirement. Another thing we did is we had somebody write down the history of the Lynches and the gift too, because I just know over time our memories are not as good as you would think they would be. So you think you get $1 million gift, you think you would remember forever, but we don't. So it was nice to have something in writing that was carefully researched. So if you're watching this video and you're in that position where you can't find a copy of the will, and I'm assuming that you've already looked through the minutes from the board minutes from that time, and there's no quotation from the will there's no copy of the letter or the will with the minutes. You've already checked all your storage areas from that era when the bequest was received, and you don't see it there. You've checked the church safety deposit box. You don't see it there. So you've basically done a thorough search in the church and just no record. So I already got the answer here. The next thing you do is you check the courthouse. So the place where that person last lived before they died, the person that gave the gift, there should be a record in the courthouse of that will. And I really don't know who you talk to. There's got to be somebody that's in charge of that. Hopefully your courthouse is nice and they just guide you right to it. So, but I would check the courthouse and see if I can get a copy from them. So if you happen to have no success at the courthouse, I would go ahead and go back to those minutes again, and I would look for a year leading up to when you receive the money, because sometimes it takes a while, as well as maybe a year afterwards, as maybe the church leadership at that time was discussing it. And again, looking for that a copy of the letter, copy of the will, or an exact quotation. Even if it's maybe not even an exact quotation, but if it seems like it's a quotation, that's what I'm looking for. One other place that maybe if the family is still heavily involved in the church and maybe even in leadership, is just checking with the family if they have a copy of the will. Right now, we're still looking for a copy of the donor's exact words. So we're not asking the family's opinion on what the donor wanted. We are asking for, can we get the actual words from the donor? Because that's what really, really counts. So let's just say that you've had absolutely no success about finding a written record of the donor's intent. This is where I do recommend going to the family. Um, Although the family's opinion actually doesn't it doesn't count legally in setting the donor intent. The donor intent is what it is, but there's no written record of it. So and if you're at this point, chances are the fund has either not been used, the bequest hasn't been used in a long time, or maybe you want to use it in a different way. And the people best that might know best about whether this honors the family member that passed away is the family, and they're also the ones that are most likely to cause you problems if somebody feels like the donor's intent isn't being followed. So that's why you check with them. And I would document this in a way. So after you meet with them, write them a letter just saying, thank you for the meeting. And as a result of this discussion, we agree that the money should be used in this way to honor your parent or grandparent. So that's the next step. One of the problems often is that a church will receive a larger bequest because the donor didn't have any family. So what do you do then? So if the donor doesn't have any family, they didn't have any kids, or perhaps any family members, they're not at all connected to the church or the community. It's just been so long that there's just no connection anymore. What do you do? And that's where I would just ask the board to make some kind of a ruling. Knowing the available facts, let's document what we believe the donor's intent is, because you want to honor the donor, show respect for the donor and their gift, as well as benefit the work of the church. So that's the best you can do in this situation. All right, if you found this helpful, I encourage you to like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. It always helps the channel and helps other people, I believe. So this is a ministry of the Dakotas Conference of the United Methodist Church, as well as the Dakotas Minnesota Methodist Foundations. There's a little bit of a change there if you're a regular watcher. They adjusted their name and they changed their logo, and I think it's pretty cool. So, and by the way, also if you're a regular watcher, one of the things you might notice is normally I wear this checkered blue shirt in many of my videos. That's actually my regular uniform. But today it is cold and windy, and so sometimes I just dress down, and usually there's only me in the office. Sometimes there might be one other person. So sometimes you get casual Jeff, and sometimes you get the uniform Jeff wearing the blue checkered shirt. So anyway, God bless you and have a great day.